This is 5.2 redo for AP Micro. And the first question asks us to explain the characteristics of a perfectly competitive factor market. In this market, the workers are wage takers, meaning if there are too many workers, then the overall wage for the entire workers will go down. Additionally, many workers in this industry have identical skills, which lead to their wages being pretty even. Also, in this market, the industry sets the wage depending on the supply and the demand of the workers and the consumers. This question asks us to draw a graph operating in a perfectly competitive factor market. So in order to draw this graph, we first need to draw the supply and demand graph, which is set by the market / the industry. This is the supply for workers, and that's the demand for the consumers. And once we found the equilibrium point, we draw the graph right next to it for the supply, which is marginal resource cost, and the marginal revenue product, which should be the demand. Once we found the intersecting points, considering the Unit 5 rule, MRP and MRC, we know that this is the socially optimal point. For the next set of questions, we were given to analyze the table. For the first question, it asks us, after which workers does the law of diminishing marginal returns occur? The law of diminishing marginal returns is when the benefit starts to decrease. From here, we see that after the first worker, the benefit is 3, and after the second, the benefit is 4, the third, the benefit is 3, and we already see that the benefit starts to decrease after the second worker. For number 2, it asks us to find how many workers should the firm hire to maximize profits and why. Given that each potato costs $2 and each worker costs $5, we can find the marginal revenue product and the marginal resource cost. Because each potato costs $2, we should multiply every number here by 2, just right here, and we can find the marginal revenue product. On the other hand, given that each worker's wage is $5, we can multiply each number by 5, but we know that the wage is constant for all the workers, so the marginal resource cost would always be 5. And considering the Unit 5 profit maximization rule, MRC equals MRP, we can find the values that match this statement the closest. The values that match this statement the closest are when the market hires 3 workers and 1 worker. as the values are the closest to number 5. However, you choose the third worker because at the third worker you're making more profit. Therefore, you choose the third worker. Number 3 asks a similar question. However, they want us to increase the price of potatoes to $4. Therefore, the number of workers stays the same, so the MRC is the same. The wage for the worker stays the same, but we have to change the marginal revenue product. To change this, all we have to do is multiply every value by 4. So given the utility, we can also find the marginal revenue product. So given the new marginal revenue product, we can see that the number 4 is the closest to number 5. Therefore, if the price of the potatoes is risen from $2 to $4, you would hire 5 workers. For number 4, they want us to know what would happen to the market if the supply rises. Well, if the supply rises, then if the supply increases, obviously the number of workers will also increase. But because we know that perfectly competitive factor markets are controlled by the number of workers, their wage would decrease. But the quantity produced will increase.